like talk about executives and, are they still, in your opinion, the driving force of, what happens in the office? And if so, what are some techniques that they could have that would make this better for everyone if they are?
Yeah, I think that was one of the notes that I made as I was looking back and kind of analyzing what I heard overall, was that executive behavior and executive beliefs are like overwhelmingly dictating what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the organizations that are making it work, they would talk about how, like, well, our executives, like, that are actually making it work, whatever it is. So if they're in a hybrid, then their executives are working hybrid, right? They're working their 2 days off. If it's fully remote, their executives are fully remote, and then they engage in a way to make it whatever, right? The executives are leading, they're behaving in the way they want others to behave. So therein lies a bit of a suggestion, is you have to be the thing, whatever the thing is. Now, I think deeper than that, if there's 2 bits of advice, or when I say, techniques, number one is you have to find the courage to trust your people. Inherently, I teach management and leadership all the time. And at the heart of what I have been teaching and preaching for a long time is that I fundamentally believe that every human being on planet Earth, given the means and opportunity, will choose to succeed over failing every single time. And so if you trust that, and then you can find the courage to trust people to sort of find their way, right? To rise to an expectation that we need to make this work in order to succeed, then people will find a way. They will elevate it. People have been super creative in making it work. I mean, look what happened when COVID came in, disrupted everything. We sent everybody home. Most executives thought things were going to go to hell in a handbasket, and instead productivity went up because people made it work. And the situation was not great, right? I'm teaching my kids over here, and I'm trying to deal with all this other stuff, and yet we still made it work. And so if they can find the courage to trust their people truly, and that also means when you're designing, go talk to them, ask them, because you both want the same thing. You both want the organization to succeed, and you both want the individual to succeed, and you want that individual to be happy and stick around. Your interests are aligned. So if you can't figure that out, it's because you're not having the conversations that matter. So get down there, talk to your people. So there's that. And the other is just to remember that work is a relationship. And so it's really about just making sure that you're taking care of your people regardless. You remember that people are human beings outside of work as well. The best companies, I've heard so many interesting stories about organizations that are like one organization I heard about in Toronto. Their headquarters had been downtown Toronto, which is one of the most expensive places in the universe to live. It's very difficult to commute to, whatever. And so they dispersed, and when they dispersed, a lot of people moved out to the suburbs, and they went to cheaper places where they could get a better cost of living and all this. Well, when they decided they needed to bring people back to work, back together with some frequency, they surveyed, and they found out people are like, not coming back, right? Sold my car. I got a different house in the suburbs. I'm an hour away now. I'm not driving down there. And what they did instead is they analyzed where all of their employees were. And then they got a new headquarters that was proximal to the maximum number of their employees and right off of public transit. And guess what? They didn't have to force people to come in. People just started to come in because they wanted to come together. They just didn't want the expense and the time and all the frustration of going downtown. So that's where I think people they're getting it wrong. When you trust people and you realize full humans, we're in relationship, we want the same things, let's figure this out. It works. It can work.
Oh man, it's like Throwback Thursday right now, because the old zip code analysis. Do you even know where your people live? That is good stuff. Libby, I don't want to step on your laugh. Did you have a follow-up that you wanted to share with Jason?
Well, I was, the part about like trusting, and where you can't, if you don't trust someone, you can't just like make yourself trust someone. So would you say that a technique that somebody could use is kind of combining a couple of your takeaways, which is the communication and trusting yourself to have maybe some of those difficult conversations of, like I'm thinking of someone I've talked to recently who they just have this one person that is not working out in the ways that it's been, and maybe that person, is just not a right fit, but also maybe it's just like having that obvious conversation of, hey, it seems like you don't want to work really hard and we're giving you a lot of freedom here to work from home. We all work from home, blah, blah, blah. But what's going on? Like, because maybe there's something much deeper happening with this person, but it's hard to have those conversations, I think. Is that what you would suggest though?
For sure. I mean, I think, but what sort of, I think we make things harder on ourselves than we need it to be, right? In that situation, I would almost guarantee that there is a lack of clarity that exists about what is truly expected of that individual. Because if that individual knew exactly what was expected, and there was agreement and clarity around what was expected, and they were getting the feedback they needed to know that it wasn't working, then that conversation is not a hard conversation. You don't need a lot of trust to have that conversation, because you sit down and say, this is what we agreed was expected. You know that things aren't working. What is going on? Because we can't stay here.
Yeah.
Right. This is the agreement. And so I find a lot of times we put ourselves in situations that require more trust and courage because we're not doing the work up front. And that's the thing that I think is missed in what was interesting. And it builds off of this. Libby, is a great point, is as I was talking to people, I couldn't help myself, right? You're having, I'm a consultant and teacher. So we'd get in and I'd be asking them about remote and different things. And I'd have somebody, I remember one conversation, she was telling me about how she thought remote was causing there to be more silos and people weren't communicating across silos and whatever. And I'm like, you think that's remote that's causing that? I'm like, have you ever worked in an organization where you were all together in person and you had that issue? And she's like, yeah, that's a good point. And I pointed that out multiple times where it's like, well, when people are at home, like, how do we know what they're doing? I'm like, how did you know what somebody was doing when they were working 3 offices down? I mean, you knew they were there, but you didn't know what they were doing. It's still fundamentally the same principles, right? If you're not managing performance effectively, if you are not setting expectations clearly, if you are not giving feedback and providing coaching, and if you're not caring for well-being, guess what? It doesn't matter where you are, things are going to fall apart. People are going to underperform. And so my, in those situations is like, you have to trust people. I do disagree with something you said, because the most effective way to build trust as a leader is to extend trust first. And there's no playbook for that. You just have to make yourself vulnerable. Like, I'm going to trust you more than I'm comfortable trusting you. And what the social science says is that people rise or lower their behavior to your level of expectation of them, right?
That's right.
And so trust your people. And then if they don't live up to it, deal with that problem. But don't create the problem by expecting them to violate your trust. And that's what's happening in way too many places, I think.
Yeah. Well, this is a good reason why everybody should read the book Over Your Left Shoulder, even though it looks like our right, Unlocking High Potential. Jason, before we let you go, we've talked a lot over the years about the future of work. And I wonder, what is your burning question about the future of work and working better?
Boy, I have so many questions. I think right now, it's probably this is more of a conceptual or existential question or something, but like, when do we realize that the problems we have at work are the same problems we have everywhere in our lives? And that's because work is a relationship. And until we have better relationship skills and we're more able to be in relationship in a healthy way, everywhere. It's not going to fix at work. And so I'm just wondering, like, what will it take for us to recognize that to really fix this requires vulnerability and humanity and love and compassion and trust? Why is this still an open issue after 125 years of work? Maybe that's not a future of work question so much as it is sort of what fuels me to get up and do this every day.
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. And we're going to end it there and invite the community to chime in on their thoughts about when we're going to get there. Jason, we want to be able to come back to you in the future to help us all work better. Thank you for these 50 cups of coffee and the themes. And this is highly provocative. We could print this as a transcript and probably sell it. It's good work, man.
Thank you. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for allowing me to be here. I always love an invitation to chat with you. So I'm grateful.
Cool. Thank you.